Oh no. Okay, it started again. There's a lot of things that, I should know already, but I'm still trying to figure out about, YouTube and some of these platforms. And I was looking on, wait, speaking of that, I wish there was an app that would, that wasn't a music app, that was just a video app. And if there is one, I would love that suggestion. One that offers filters, that has backdrops, just like the music apps, except that you can speak. I mean, I suppose I could speak on the music apps, but that's not exactly what they're for. So, but I'm looking for an app that will do that. um, so back to inequality, stereotypes. When I was growing up, I also learned that men and women that were rich were not in love when they were married. That it was the woman would marry the man because of his money, and that they would never leave that relationship because they didn't want to be poor. Now, I think that some people do have arrangements, which I've really learned a lot about lately, that they have, marriages of convenience for money. And I was reading about this when I was in high school, and it was really depressing. Also, classes, upper class, middle class, poor. And then if you were stuck in the poor class, there's going to be no way you could leave this structure to go anywhere but where you are, right? And it's, that you're going to be forever stuck there. Now there's education, and we can grow and get out of, those classes and other means by, using these platforms, right? But, I always thought that was really sad, because when you're in high school, you're all about falling in love with your boyfriends. I'm still all about actually falling in love genuinely, okay? And having some sort of, economic arrangement is completely off-putting. It's like, are you kidding me? Really? That's not my thing. Because, the human heart, we need to love each other. And when two people come together, you need to fall in love. All the butterflies, the whole thing. It can't just be a plan that somebody comes up with because you'll look good together. You can spend money well together and go on these fancy trips and just look like, you're a power couple, which I don't believe in that sort of structure at all. I think that's just really dumb and dishonest. It's dishonest. Relationships that are not exciting and loving, somebody that just makes you feel so excited and even vulnerable a little bit because your feelings are strong. Now, maybe you've been with your husband for like a bazillion years and you still kind of like him, but you've got to work on those butterflies, right? Nevertheless, there's got to be this deep love. There's got to be this love and respect for your companion and your family. And to expect to be treated well, to be a part of the team. Similar goals and beliefs. I believe in that. And I don't believe in the patriarch being a male-dominant force in a woman's life. I've always had that issue. And I know that many of you know my whole freaking life story. I've been married enough times to know that my personality, it doesn't resonate with being treated like I'm less than who I'm married to. And I can go along for a while until I just can't. And when I can't, I can't. Okay? Because I love myself. I know what I deserve in my life. I don't deserve somebody that's going to cheat on me or treat me like I'm less than what I am. And nor do I believe in emasculating your man. He needs to be supportive, encouraged, just as much as the women do, okay? And if you have a traditional nuclear family in your home and the wife is home, man, she's the boss, really. I know the men don't know that, but the woman really is. And in case you didn't know, I'm giving you that power right now. You are the manager. Now, he's a breadwinner, and he might, I'll consider him like a regional manager, but you're home and you've got all the kids, right? Or he does. It could be vice versa. But believe me, there should never be this hierarchy of a man over a woman, because the psychological damage that it causes to people, not just in our country, but especially in countries that don't have any structures that really protect women and children. It breaks my heart. It makes me mad. It makes me want to go smack some people around. Ooh. So I know that structure will never be good for me. You know, as hard as I have tried, I will not be bullied by a man. I won't. I don't care how insecure I might be feeling. I don't care if I'm overweight. There is no circumstances ever that I felt like that a man could have that dominating control over me to a point where I would just give up completely. You know, I wish women realize that, you know, you've got more power than you think. And because we're giving men in society so much power over us, and maybe it is economic structure, but if you were to realize the wealth you have just being yourself, to me, there is no amount of money in the entire world that could make me stay with a bullying man. Sure, I could use some money. I need some money. But there's no way that I would suffer this type of abuse just to be with a man. So then society comes along. Well, we've got too many single women. They're leaving their husbands. You know, they're not behaving themselves, or they're standing up for themselves, and they're not, you know, going along with the program. And so now we've got all of these divorces. We've got all of these single women with kids out there. And never once did we stop and think that we need to expect more from these men and how they're treating us. You know, if you are being dominated or abused in any way, you need to get the hell out. Okay? I don't care how much you love the guy. Your kids come first. You come first if somebody is mistreating you. I don't care who they are. Nobody is worth your self-esteem. No one. And there is not one dime or a particular house that exchanges, that has the value that you have as a person. And women, we need to hold these men's feet to the fire. This cheating, these shenanigans, it needs to be stopped. Because you are just as valuable as he is. You have no idea. And I'm not, you know, excuse me, men. We love you. We do. But we expect to be treated well. And men expect to be treated well. And if somebody is sacrificing for you, whether they be male or female, and you're disrespecting them, it isn't going to work. The relationship will fall apart. It will. And if it doesn't, then somebody's going to be paying an emotional price. And it'll affect their lives, their self-esteem, even their health. Really think about your relationships. Okay, let's go back to grouping for a second. Grouping people. What we're doing is also segregating. Even if it comes to a clique that's bullying or religious cults, or, you know, these people stick together because, you know, they have more in common, which is fine. But it's when that group attacks another group that's the problem. You know, we all have people that, you know, or cultures or situations where we feel more comfortable with those friends. Those are our core friends. But the moment that group or those core people attack, and this is it, I'm saying it again, attack another group or another idea from someone else, and we start judging them when they're not harming anyone. Now, if they're out there harming people and they're kind of radical and they're doing bad things, that could be a little different, you know, where it needs to be reeled back in and we need to adjust what's going on down to the core of them, because usually people that behave that way, there's an emotional reason for it. It isn't just because they want to be badasses. You know, they have a problem, and we probably should be figuring out what that is and how to balance their energy out. You know, I believe, unless people are just batshit crazy, that most of us want to have a safe world and a safe society. We don't want to fight. You know, maybe somebody wants to take over some country and they have these grandiose plans to do that. Well, we need to figure out a way. Not only, okay, let's look at the bigger structure. Okay, we've got this family situation, okay, where it could be, no matter what it is, whether it's, you know, a nuclear family or a new developed family of a different kind, you know, most people, I believe, want to be able to be safe. They want their children safe, right? So let's look at ourselves as a country that's a family, because that's how it used to be in the United States. No matter where you were from, we were brothers and sisters in America. We helped our neighbors. We had this sense of pride in our flag and and other people. We really cared about our next door neighbors. We did. It meant something to us. It didn't have anything to do with money either. We were just automatically built and mentally structured in a way that really did encompass this American dream and you know, being brothers and sisters under the same flag. I don't know whatever happened to that. I really feel compelled, deeply compelled, that no matter who we are in this country, if someone is just minding their own business, not hurting you, not breaking the law, they're living the life that they feel compelled to live. They're not judging you or harming you. And if you truly had, deep down in your heart, that self-esteem, you don't have time to worry about what that guy's doing. You only have your own life. You know, you can't steal or take from another person. You have to develop your own path. There is a world stage, and it's big enough for your talent and skill. Believe me, you don't need to worry ever what somebody else is doing. Only yourself. Honestly. This fighting, it really has to stop. And I'm still and always going to be someone who believes in a democratic society. I can evolve. I can. In a good plan that is fair to the people. I don't believe that throwing a bunch of money at people and then taking our freedom away is a good idea, because you'll have this money, you'll think, oh, we're doing great now, and you go for a few years and you're not feeling any pain. But the minute that you have a problem or a legal issue or a problem, and we've got, and I'm not saying AI is bad in and of itself all the way, but there are some things going on that are replacing human beings. And I'll tell you what, fabricating evidence could be one of them. And you might feel like it is the coolest thing, and it is. Progress and modernizing our world is exciting. It is. But the minute that you go along with this bribery thing, where everybody is getting this money and we're going to level out, economic tiers and make it more fair for everybody, that is a good plan. Don't get me wrong. It is a great plan. But you still need to have your freedom, your power, your democracy over, still in the land to be able to navigate yourself and others in a fair way. That government can't come in there and just destroy your life based on a lie because you stood up for yourself and said, hey, this is wrong, and they don't like it, and then they come in and try to make you, beat you down. You really need to consider. And you think, oh, that's not going to happen. Are you kidding? It's already happening. It's already a problem. Now, I know you know, and I've said this before, I am a nonpartisan. I'm an American. I love my country. And if there was ever a time of segregation, it is the Democrats and the Republicans. This is a political civil war that we're fighting. And I'm telling you, there are crimes on both sides. There's corruption on both sides. The Republicans are telling the truth about the advantages that have been taken by the Democrats. That's true. However, over here, we have a real threat to our Constitution. We need to be paying attention to what government is doing and who they're associating with and truly why. And not just to believe things at face value, but to really question it, because right now, with the Constitution, you have every right to question everything. You are the boss of this nation right now. You're the boss. And you have nothing to be afraid of. You really don't. Not right now. But if we lose that Constitution, or we lose the protection of the people to where we can protect ourselves from illegal search and seizure, from anything the government wants to do, or creating false evidence against someone because they're not going along with the program, this isn't hearsay. It's already happening. I wish there was any way that I could help you feel what I feel is going down around us. Some of it's good, and some of it's dangerous. And we need to pull back in and really look and expect explanations for decisions that are made in government, instead of them just going out there and bulls in a china closet and doing whatever they want. We, the people, deserve an explanation for why they're doing what they're doing. Truly, we need to, and some people are privy to the information. But when you know and you feel in your heart, there's things that aren't being said, you have to act on that. You have to ask these questions, because your future, your country, and your lives depend on that. We have every right to ask our leaders what the hell they're doing and why. We have the right. And I don't care who you are or what economic level you're on. Don't believe that rich man, poor man crap. You're just as much of a human being as they are. Your voice will save you, people. Your voice saves you. Speak up. Ask your questions. Hold their feet to the fire. Because right now, this is our country. And I'm completely on board with moving to a more modern world. I am. And protecting our nation too and our economic structure, which is really shit right now, excuse my French. But we have a right to know why they want to have a war. We need to know why they want to crash the stock market, because they do. Okay? And we have every right to know why they want to do that and think that's going to resolve anything. We have been so blessed for so long to never have war on our soil, ever. Do you really want to risk the possibility, the real threat of that happening? The closest we got to it was 9/11. And who knows what the plan is. But we need to stay on our tippy toes and be asking those questions, no matter how educated you are or not. This freedom of speech, religion, the right to due process in a court of law with a fair judge, an honest judge. These are important matters to everyone, even in government. It is so important to have people that really do their jobs with integrity. And attorneys that don't come in and gobbledygook up all of their evidence and say all these delusional things, spin it in such a way that it makes them look smarter than the other guy. And really the whole thing is just a bunch of junk, that illusions that don't even matter. And when it comes to somebody's personal lives, to use their personal preferences or their lives to bring that into a courtroom to diminish their character, it is prejudice at its worst, because they don't have a right to go into your personal life when you are not hurting and harming anyone to try to use that to bend your character, win a court case. You better hear what I'm saying, because, you know, in my state, our state, this state of Utah, is run by religion. And we don't even have non-religious people, really, but a couple in our state. But even then, they have to go with the religious program, right? Okay, so we are kind of out of the union here. Things are being done that are not, you know, don't seem to be completely like the rest of the nation, because they've got a different power. And that's wrong. And that means if you are not this particular religion, that you're not going to be judged properly. Okay, let's remember, you know, even with the election of the new president, he was saying, bring the Bible back. That sounds great. But we are an American melting pot of religion. So I know, and I knew it then, and I've been talking about it for over a year, that that's a scam. You cannot do that. You know why? Because there is going to be a preference within the Republicans and with the conservatives. They want a Christian society. And we know, I mean, I don't know if you know, but I know that Jesus Christ is my personal Savior. But I also know that He loves everyone. And I also know that people are not going to get a fair deal if they're not Christian or white or rich, if they believe in psychic powers and actually have them. We need to speak up. There's a movie I want you to watch. And I'll go into depth about this movie because it really shaped my life, among other societal type movies. Oh, what was it called? Hold on. I had it and I just lost it. Oh, what was it called? Shoot. I hate it when that happens. They'll say, oh, she's getting old. She's forgetting I don't know how many other people, But, oh, shoot. What is it? I'll come back about that. But it was really about the structure of hierarchy and power, being in a tribal sense. Oh, okay. It all boils down to survival of the fittest. How fit do we want to be? We're going to have to get fit pretty fast. And come in, not in an abrasive way, and I mean, sometimes you've got to, or you won't be taken serious. It seems like some people won't take you seriously unless you use a little muscle. But ultimately, all you need is to be correct, is to be truthful and correct. When you're coming in with solid ideals, the willingness to be honest, to not be like these weird attorneys that create the narrative so that they can get away with murder. We need to really fix the judicial system. These judges, they are human beings. These people, they went to school, they were attorneys, they took a test, they applied to be a judge, they became a judge, but there's still a template of, if you do this, this is going to happen. And yeah, they can get an attorney and they can negotiate and try to lessen it and increase it, whatever they're going to do. But then at the end of that, then there's a judge that says, okay, I feel that this is what's right. And, these are the parameters of that decision. Worst case scenario, easiest scenario. And they have to decide within those parameters the appropriate decision to be made based on the situation. But ultimately, always in the back of our minds, we have to not only have a fair trial, but we have to ultimately want a safe society too. Fair and safe. And and as much as we try to do our best, we're never going to be right 100% of the time, right? But that you're thinking correctly when you're balanced about it. When you're not using religion to taint somebody's character. Because, your personal life has no place in the courtroom if you are not breaking the law. Period. They don't know that in this state, but it's true. Your personal preferences or choices have no bearing to your character. You know that. And if they're using that based on religious hierarchy, and they're trying to use that in court, it is a false government, because it's not concerned with people of different walks of life. Oh no. They want it their way. And they're aiming to get that. And they're not looking at the big picture that, hey, you can't bring in, if somebody has beer, you can't bring that into the courtroom unless they have done something really bad. Now, I'm not supporting being an alcoholic or out there smoking cigarettes or anything like that, because I know it's harmful to your health. But you can't use the fact that somebody smokes cigarettes, drinks wine or beer. I can't think of anything else. I really think that extramarital affairs really do hurt society, and families badly. But it is not breaking the law. But it does have really extreme consequences, and it should. Of course it should. Because it wrecks families and it hurts society as a whole. And so there should be consequences for cheating on your spouse. Either way. However, if it comes to something where you are not hurting or harming another individual, the courts, the church, government as a whole needs to stay out of your personal life and your bedrooms and your homes. They have no business there if you are not harming anyone and you are not breaking the law. Period. I don't care where you're from. I don't care if you're from Islam or here. This is my opinion. You guys can do over there whatever you want to do with your religion. But over here, we're supposed to have freedom of religion, freedom of beliefs. That's how it's supposed to be. And you cannot take bullshit and bring it to the courtroom and call it evidence of character. Oh no. No, I am serious about what I'm telling you. And I know I'm right. Believe me. Church and state can stay out of my freaking bedroom. You can stay out of my home. I'm not breaking the law. Okay? And coming up with fabricated evidence. That's really a threat for this new world. It isn't just to lose jobs. It's fabrication of evidence if you don't go along with the whole plot of taking us over. You know, it can be painted to look really cool. Wow. But you don't know really what's going on. And we have every right to ask and demand answers. Not just have them blow over us and not explain. They never told me what their plan was because I was a victim of this plan. One of them. No, they weren't going to tell me what was going on because they were coming after me and I didn't even know why. And I figured it out. Because to them, I was less of a human being than everybody else. Because I was poor and I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. So they thought they could just bulldoze over me and hoping that I would be dead. Maybe tomorrow she'll be dead. So they could steal. We're in an age where if people don't get their shit together and they cannot be relied on, we're all in big trouble. Okay? And I don't want to bring everybody down. I mean, I don't, but you know, we can sing blah, blah, you know, we can pretend. And believe me, I love to laugh and have a great time. And I hope to do some videos where we can just laugh and not even worry about these critical world issues. But right now, I don't think that time is here. And it makes me sad because I like to laugh. I don't want to worry about, you know, what took me so long to come on with this is because I just want to have a happy life. I don't want to worry about these problems in the world. I mean, I already do. I have the mind to worry about these problems and to maybe have an effect on people's thinking. But I want us to live in a safe place where we can actually take a day where we can have a breather and not worry about what Washington, D.C. is doing or a state government. That we can actually just have a happy day. Not worried that somebody's trying to take us over or start a World War III. No. Or get on a platform and worry that somebody's going to steal our information, commit identity theft, and take all your freaking work and destroy your character. All of us need to be keeping our eyes open. Oh, I remember the movie now. I want you to look up a movie called Lord of the Flies. You will bawl your guts out if you haven't seen that movie, especially you young people that haven't seen it. You need to watch the movie Lord of the Flies. Because it really is about the structure of society, survival of the fittest, unfair grouping, and stereotypes. That somebody who has a skill that the other person doesn't have uses it to bully somebody else. Or vice versa, take what he's got so they can have it for themselves. Watch Lord of the Flies. It explains a lot about our country and how we're set up. How every country really is set up. And really, you know, when I first watched it, I really did bawl my eyes out. It was just so tough to watch it. But I think it's an important movie to explain what's going on in government in our society and the unfairness of it. Hear me when I say that. You gotta watch that movie. I appreciate every single one of you. I do. I appreciate those that follow me and that like my music. You know, when I was growing up, I loved Heart. I loved rock and roll. My dad was into country, and I didn't dislike. Well, I didn't like Merle Haggard. I didn't like heavy duty country. Ugh, I didn't like it. It just I'd hear it and it would make me cringe. But now country is more pop music than it is even country. But No, I totally gravitated toward rock and roll music. That was where I went. And then I got involved with people that also thought, don't go country, don't go disco, because you ain't cool unless you're doing rock and roll. And that's another stereotype, but that's how I felt. And I loved Heart. And when I was young and I would listen to Ann and Nancy Wilson sing, and I knew my voice was similar, man, I learned every single word to every single song, to almost every single album they have ever made, because I love them. I love you, Anne. I love you, Nancy. Thank you for giving me this wonderful, fun genre that is not demonic. Do you realize that some of this rock music, even during Vietnam and all the wars, how much that music really helped the troops? And sometimes, when you're singing a rock song, it helps you get your aggression out in a positive way where you're not really hurting anybody, but you get to scream a little bit. You get to really put your energy into it and release some of that tension. It's better to yell on a song than it is at a person when you're just yelling. And it sounds better too. I love rock music. I love all music, honestly. I do. I love all music. And I can sing most genres. I don't do opera, but I have definitely worked on all the different genres because I love music. It makes me happy. You are in my prayers. I promise you, you are. I'm praying for a really good world of understanding and accepting the differences of others without ostracizing them. To seek to understand before you attack someone. To really understand their culture is different sometimes. Maybe it's a cultural difference, but that doesn't give you a reason to just fight. It gives you an opportunity to try to understand what that culture is and maybe why they might be behaving the way that they are and how they really feel. If we would just stop pointing fingers and blaming and causing and letting government pull us apart by political party, we might actually have a peaceful world. Imagine that. There's some things that they make hyper complicated so that we won't catch on. And it's time to catch on before it's too late. Catch on. God bless America. God bless this world. I absolutely love the countries I've been to that just inspire me, that prove to me ancient history really exists, that these people from eons ago really lived, really had lives. And we learn so much in modern society because of what they did thousands of years ago. We have so much to learn. I want to protect this world because there's monuments and statues and beautiful structures that we don't want to lose from war. Beautiful statues. Can you imagine? I don't even want to say it because I don't want to give anybody any ideas. But there's some places, in Italy and Greece, man, it would destroy me personally. It would break my heart to lose them. We have a gorgeous world. And France, too. Remember how upset everybody was when Notre Dame caught on fire? We don't want to do that. We need to protect these structures that make this world so beautiful. We don't want to hurt this world because it's history that matters, not just to Americans and just to the people that live there. All of us should care about these countries. We go to visit them. We love them. They matter. That ancient history, it matters. And it enriches your life. If you go to a different country and you experience these things, it'll be just like, oh, it's no longer faith anymore. I'm walking up the stairs to the Acropolis. where the disciples walked, or you're in the Holy Land, and all of a sudden you realize it's true. Wow. It's no longer faith, all of a sudden becomes knowledge, and you wouldn't want to do anything to harm those places. You don't want a war. You want to find a way to get around it. Because these places are just so precious. Don't let your pride and your desire for money distort your thinking so much that we destroy this world. Hear what I'm telling you. And I do tell you these things with all of my heart, in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.